Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, Ms. Minter, what a very story. Stephanie, the numerous pictures we saw, beautiful. I apologize for the individuals that have held onto these irresponsible policies, costing the lives of many, many innocent Americans. So I apologize. Mr. Kennedy, I appreciate your passion. You're right on target. Mr. Descano, well, Ms. Sheriff Kincaid, thank you for your service. Mr. Descano, I consider you a disgrace. I yield the rest of my balance of my time to my colleague, Mr. Cline.
I thank the gentleman, and I thank the chairman for allowing me to sit on this panel today. I represent the vast majority of Virginia citizens who stand with you, Ms. Minter, and who are so sorry for the tragedy that occurred. And our prayers are with you and with your daughter, who is in heaven looking down on this right now. And, you know, I heard your apology, Mr. Descano. I think the public would like to hear your resignation.
Representative Cline just brought undeniable proof to a political showdown. We are looking at a fatal document, the trail of sanctuary city rules that local bureaucrats believed they could conceal with clever wordplay. This is far beyond standard political bickering. It is a deep dive into a legal framework that purposefully grants leniency to undocumented suspects, leaving innocent American citizens vulnerable in the crosshairs. When Representative Cline and his panel presented the hard evidence to confront Fairfax County Prosecutor Steve Descano, his single excuse was to deflect, insisting that ICE detainers simply aren't our business. Make sure to watch until the very end. The exact second that witness Mr. Meares enters to entirely wreck Descano's argument is a masterclass in confronting public officials who prioritize political agendas over community safety. Subscribe now, because when local district attorneys use the legal system to shelter offenders, you need to witness the receipts firsthand.
Let me ask you, when Abdul Jala is released, will you honor an ICE detainer?
Sir, my office is a prosecuting office. We don't receive ICE detainers. That's not our business.
Let us freeze frame for a moment. The highest-ranking prosecutor in Fairfax County just explicitly declared that dealing with an undocumented suspect is outside his jurisdiction. Pay attention to the intentional deployment of administrative jargon. An ICE detainer is a routine law enforcement mechanism utilized nationwide to ensure dangerous people do not return to the streets. Yet, the leading prosecutor waves it away like a piece of junk mail. Cline instantly shifts his focus to Sheriff Kincaid. Observe how she engages in legal gymnastics to sidestep his inquiry.
Sheriff Kincaid, will you honor the ICE detainer?
Well, thank you for that question. And I would certainly hope that this case would be prosecuted and that justice would be served. Certainly when it comes to Mr. Jala, there hasn't been ICE detainers with the exception of one time in 2018, which we turned him over to ICE, and then the second time, which we had to release him to a facility. Each other time he's been in my custody, there's been no detainers.
If one comes, will you honor it?
As long as I have the authority to do so, and ICE knows what our policy is.
Then yes?
If I'm given a judicial warrant, yes.
That's different.
Well, it's what gives me the authority to detain somebody when I receive a court order from a judge mandating someone's release. I would also hope that ICE would know when Mr. Jala is getting released so that they would be able to come and pick him up. And we do plan, should he get convicted, we do plan on taking him, driving him down to the Department of Corrections.
Did you hear that precise legal loophole? Judicial warrant? This is textbook sanctuary jurisdiction behavior. Local authorities are completely aware that ICE detainers operate as administrative requests, not warrants signed by a judge. By insisting on a judge's signature, they practically guarantee a criminal alien will be freed back into society long before federal agents even step foot on the premises. This is effectively a catch-and-release program camouflaged as strict procedural obedience. The sheriff effectively shifted the blame onto the federal court system. However, Cline refuses to let them off the hook that simply he drops the administrative line of questioning and attacks the very part of the double standard, discriminatory enforcement.
All right. Well, Mr. Descano, your policy tells prosecutors to give lighter treatment to defendants based on their immigration status. Isn't that just discrimination with a sympathetic face? And why are you protecting criminal illegal aliens more than the people of Fairfax County, the citizens?
Well, first of all, sir, I think there's two things wrong with it in the question that you asked me. We're not protecting undocumented individuals. As a matter of fact, we prosecute people who commit crimes in Fairfax County regardless of their status. So the idea that we don't do that is simply wrong. Our policies simply maintain that our role is to prosecute Virginia crime. That's what we do. ICE's role is to do federal civil immigration enforcement.
Pay close attention to the logical acrobatics Descano is attempting here. He argues that his department prosecutes everyone fairly, yet simultaneously tries to completely detach a local offense from its federal immigration consequences. He expects you to accept that a suspect's legal status exists in an isolated bubble. However, as Representative Cline astutely notes, when a district attorney drafts a mandate explicitly stating that an undocumented individual should get a reduced charge simply to evade deportation, that is the opposite of equality. If a U.S. citizen receives a stricter penalty for the identical offense merely because they aren't facing deportation, that represents exactly what Cline described: discrimination masked by compassion. Observe how Descano attempts to play semantics, brushing off the threat of deportation as mere federal civil matters to completely wash his hands of the issue, all while vehemently denying that sanctuary policies exist in his office. But Representative Cline did not come unequipped. He brings in Mr. Meares as a witness to deliver the ultimate knockout punch.
Mr. Meares, you disagree with that?
Fundamentally, he has a written policy to that effect. He is conflating two different issues. He's simply saying, well, I prosecute all crimes. At the same time, he has a written policy saying that illegal immigrants are going to be treated and given preferential treatment differently from American citizens. On one hand, he sits in front of this committee and says, we don't follow sanctuary policies. At the same time, he openly admits he conducts himself in a manner in which he does not cooperate federal immigration authorities. That's the very definition of sanctuary policies. No, I fundamentally disagree with his assessment. There are 95 counties in Virginia, Congressman. Only one county with one prosecutor has a written policy saying we're going to treat illegal immigrants differently than American citizens. It is Mr. Descano to my left, period, full stop.
Boom. End of story. The silence in that committee room was deafening. Mr. Meares did more than just disagree with Descano. He systematically dismantled his argument using hard data. Let's reiterate that for anyone missing the point. Out of 95 counties in Virginia, 94 operate under standard legal procedures. Only one single county, Descano's jurisdiction, has officially written a mandate providing special treatment to insulate undocumented suspects from ICE. Descano attempts to interrupt with a feeble, I completely reject his interpretation. But how can you reject a document you authored? It's impossible. The paper trail is undeniable.
Well, I know that when ICE does work with localities, the system can work. I worked in the Harrisonburg-Rockingham Commonwealth's Attorney's Office. They had a 287G agreement with ICE, and when individuals who were prosecuted, who were here illegally, eventually served their sentences, they were met by ICE. They were retrieved by ICE and returned to their countries of origin. The people of Rockingham and Harrisonburg benefited from that policy because the streets were safer, and people who committed crimes were not returned to the communities that they threatened prior to their arrest. So, the people who are here in from Fairfax stand and answer the ranking member's question about, well, I've run out of time, so I hope I can get some more time because people who are working hard in Fairfax County deserve to not just feel safe, as the ranking member indicated, but actually are safe.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Representative Cline drives the point home by comparing Fairfax County's catastrophic approach with a framework that genuinely succeeds. He highlights the 287-point program, an incredibly efficient federal initiative enabling local police to seamlessly coordinate with ICE. In jurisdictions like Rockingham, the outcomes were clear. Offenders were apprehended, tried, and permanently deported. They were not tossed back into the communities they preyed upon, and they absolutely did not receive a lenient plea deal to spare them from being deported. when a regional prosecutor attempts to cower behind jurisdictional loopholes, but is entirely unmasked by a policy he personally authorized, the facade of true law enforcement officially crumbles. Mr. Meares said an inescapable trap. This congressional hearing highlights an alarming truth. When a district attorney cares more about sheltering convicted felons from federal law enforcement than defending the traumatized families within his own borders. Like Ms. Minter, the judicial system is actively weaponized against the very people it was created to guard. This is exactly why those in authority dread public transparency. The core debate is not about state versus federal jurisdiction. The reality is that sunlight is the best disinfectant. By reminding the committee that the diligent residents of Fairfax County have the right to actually be secure, rather than simply feel secure, Cline reclaims the integrity of the law from a reckless local directive. Just as parishes in the dark corners of mandates designed to sidestep federal enforcement. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Should local district attorneys have the power to create rules that shield undocumented criminals from federal agencies? And does Descano's defensive behavior leave you feeling confident about the safety of your community? Let's call out the leaders who value political sanctuary over the security of American citizens.